Scruffy Audio Network.
Hey, how are you guys? It's another Sunday with my man, Dr. James Choo. You know, Chewy, I start calling you more of a doctor since we've been doing this Lost Generation series, and we are on part 3 today, and I appreciate you coming in again on a Sunday, man. I've been getting so much feedback on the last 2 series. I can't wait until after 6 are done to see what we're doing and how we're changing people's lives or making them think a little bit more or just a minute more of what to do. So let's see. I've had some feedback from different clients. I've had some text messages, some emails.
People are fired up.
They're fired up. I mean, they're fired up in so many ways. All I need to say is I'm on my 7th day of a loaded baked potato and I've lost 4 pounds.
Because that was criticism.
Right. I had a client of mine that said baked potatoes make them fat.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's funny. It comes from the earth. It's, could sit anything that can last on the shelf, or not last on the shelf. The preservatives of things that go bad to not go bad. Fruits are made to be eaten. That was another thing. Fruits.
One of those
things. Vegetables and fruits made him fat.
Okay.
So I just had to prove that point of like, I love baked potatoes, and I had one this morning with chili, sour cream, cheese, and then 4 eggs, bacon, coffee, whatever, and I feel great.
Yeah. So the first 2 talks that we had about health and wellness, I think, laid the groundwork of, hey, these are the problems that you have been seeing that we know about that's going on in society, and we just kind of made the sketch of what we thought were some of the problems that were out there as far as people's general overall weight, health, the approaches, what people, the approaches that some strength trainers take or don't take, not calling out people for their dietary habits, their lifestyle, all that kind of stuff, and how that was taboo, where you've basically thrown that onto the fire and basically said, no, we got to call it like it is, identify the truth in plain as day, and speak about it. I think that's the first 2 podcasts have illustrated that. And so a lot of this feedback that we're getting is, okay, you 2 wise asses, now what? Now you pointed the finger, you have called us fat and pieces of shit.
I love it.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And now what?
Right.
You guys think you know so much.
Right. And that's good. Keep the shots fired. So we're here.
And that's good. And unwittingly, from some of these clients, they're fired up in a good way because they are more engaged with the whole process than ever before. Am I right?
Means and measures. That's what.
So tell them how you've been doing means and measures with these individual clients that you have called out, put them on the table and say, okay, here it is. This is why you aren't moving the needle. So what are you doing now to keep them accountable? Okay,
so we came up with this a while ago about doing more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then doing more, doing something more. So then the next, called out, shots fired, whatever we want to say is, okay, I don't know what do more means. Mm-hmm. Okay, we need a template of do more. You're saying do more. You and Chewy have identified the problem, or whatever's going on.
So what does that mean? What does do more mean?
Well,
spell it out for us.
Well, do more means let's start first by means and measures. So that is doing more of waking up your consciousness of, holy shit, I'm overweight.
Okay,
and I'm weak.
And how have you done that?
I've measured everybody's height because besides one other thing, that's what men lie about most. Their height. Okay? The second
I
thing.
thought it was hair color.
Yeah.
The next one.
I thought it was IQ. So I get their height, I get their body fat, and their body weight. And body fat to me is very, very important. I mean, we don't just need to lose muscle to go, we made our weight.
So you have an actual machine.
Yes.
That it's not 100% perfect, but it gives you a baseline.
It's a baseline, yeah.
It's not all that off.
Our program director's holding it up. It's just a handheld machine, and it's just a means and measures.
Right,
We're not getting dunked in the hydrostat or the pod. You go there and get it done. I don't care where you get it done, but you got to get it done.
Okay.
So
in the same way, because people may not know this, it's different means and measures. But if you had this first round athlete that came through here, you get means and measures.
Right.
Some of it's bod pod and all that kind of stuff, but you're not as concerned about that. Some of it, but it would be how much can you lift, how fast can you sprint, how high can you jump, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So that's your means and that is the same type of means and measures that you would use for any athlete. You've changed it in some ways to meet the needs of these individuals, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so that's the first thing we do. Okay. So that's a wake up call.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't get on the scale.
When you did the means and measures, what were their reactions? Were they like,
I can't believe I was that? Or, hey, I need to get you on the scale. Oh, I waited home this morning. No. I need to see it.
Yeah.
Like you weighing on this. We're all in this together. So let's all train together, play together, fight together, win together. So let's all win together. So we get the means and measures. Then we're saying if one of my clients 2 or 3 days a week, okay, you got to do another 2 days somewhere else. You got to do something.
Okay.
If I have a client once a week, you got to do 4 days somewhere else. But
an example of that would be, what were the things that they could do on those couple days?
Move. You got to move. You got to walk. Okay, that's right. Because people say do more. I don't know what that means.
Right.
So let's do at least 45 minutes of some cardiovascular. And if it's weights, do weights, but let's do a metabolic circuit. Let's keep it moving. So those are the things that I'm asking you to do. Mostly, I want you to walk because I think all my clients can walk. I mean, even
that's actually something you do.
That's something I'm going to do this afternoon.
Right.
I'm going to get my walk in this afternoon. Yeah. Because this morning I was up, so geeked about this podcast. I'm working on it. Got here early, working on it, thinking about this morning. It's a movement that's happening. Yeah. It's coming.
Well, I'm telling you, Dave, from the texts that I'm involved in some of the texts, mostly as a sideline observer, but people are fired up, and they are doing more, right? I mean, you
look at the calendar on the wall.
Yeah,
Choo, we are logging in weights now.
So Charlie
Body
has a planner on the wall that's almost like a whiteboard, and he's writing down the means and measures and what people are doing, right? And okay, so the other means and measure, you do more on the weekends was another theme, right? Oh, yeah. Parts of your means and measures, is that right?
Yes. And more on the weekends. I just got off the phone with one of my main cats that I've had, 20, 25 years, Brian White. He's coming in next Friday to officially do the podcast in the Woodgym. He just got through listening to Big Jim Haslam and then part 2 of the Dr. Choo series, Lost Generation. He was blown away.
Okay.
He said, because, man, I don't feel normal, or I feel like now I know what you're talking about is I don't want to be normal, because he was talking about the same thing. Is he's 36, 37, the grinder, and he's like, I don't have a lot of hobbies. I do jiu-jitsu, weight train, take care of my family business, but I'm not the guy that's going on the weekends and going out with my fellas and doing a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever activities those are, I can't define those, but he would rather be in the real life grind that makes him happy.
Right.
And I don't care who's out there. Come talk to me. Show me a guy with 2 more hobbies, and it's checkers or whatever else it is. You're not physically fit because those hobbies are taking up time from your walks, from your rides, from your going to the gym, doing anything. Right. Now, I will say, I talked to one of my clients this week, close, he's a very close client, a great friend of mine. He talked about the hobbies of mind stimulation. Okay. I understand that. I get what you're saying is, hey, if somebody's out there playing golf and doing what he's doing, but not walking, but he's older, he has to think about shot selection, what club. So he's moving the mind around. Fair enough. I get that. Yeah. I mean, I get that, but I don't know if that's what we're trying to get into of doing more. I was like, I get it, but okay. Stress, cholesterol, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, all these things that happen that sneak up on you when you haven't.
Super impactful to your general health and well-being. If those things get out of control, you can kiss the checkers goodbye, right?
100. I think your health. I think your health goes hand in hand with your mind. Wouldn't you say?
Sure, 100%.
I mean, the serotonin levels are released.
There's a lot of neuroscientific evidence.
You have to count reps. You have to figure out your weight. You have to think about your technique. I mean, and if you're doing walks, put podcasts in, put books in, and then you're listening to. I'm big on bang for your buck. You know, so I don't do anything from my mountain bikes to my walks without listening to something. So I'm getting a 2-for-1 ratio. Okay. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So that was part of the criticism or just feedback. Criticism is good. Feedback's
and
great.
I love
negative feedback's good.
It makes me think.
Right. And so part of it was, hey, the hobbies, if you listen to the previous podcast, Charlie makes this observation about having too many hobbies distracts you from really the focus of getting better. If you have all these distractions, too many hobbies, then you might not be putting all of your efforts into wellness, right? So the part of the means and measures, though, was and part of the hobbies that people are doing is over the weekend, and you think part of your, I guess, thesis here is that people get worse over the weekends. And so your means and measures, you're doing what? On a Friday, you're measuring.
All the guys.
And then on a Monday,
and
you're
gals.
measuring. And so what is that revealing?
It's showing right about 2 pounds of an increase.
For most people over the weekend.
For most people from Friday, and then we have to start back.
So do more means do not let off steam over the weekend.
It's a dummy theory, but it actually works, get your stuff in.
Yeah.
If you're going to have your drinks, I've always said, and people could debate it, drink early. Okay? And don't go to bed with a drink in your hand.
Right.
That's all. Give me 2 hours.
Right.
2 hours.
Right.
Of your last drink, and then tell me how you feel the next day, and then check your body fats and body weights. That's all I'm talking about. Right. Now, what everybody says is, well, what about families? How do we curtail we're doing families?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And we both know, we've talked about this, and this is in my notes. You should come first if you're taking care of a family.
Oh, take care of yourself in order to take care of your family.
That's right. That's right. So that better be a priority, and everybody should be on board with that.
Right, right.
Because I'm not talking about going to play 36 holes and getting tanked up with 30 beers and smoking cigars in a golf cart. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking time for yourself so you could be here.
Yeah. Tune yourself up so that you can do more, be more. Right?
And you know as well as I know, when we talk about the needle moving, whether it's a pound, half a pound, 2 pounds, that person, male or female, is in a much better attitude and a good state of mind to take on anything that day.
Okay. So Charlie has a group of people that have listened to this very intently. And a lot of the podcast is to address some of the clients and just people overall. And means and measures, taking their weights into account, calling people out on the table saying, okay, some of the things that you're doing over the weekend aren't helping you move the needle, and very bluntly addressing it very truthfully. People are upset, some. Mm-hmm. But what's happening?
They're changing.
Right.
They're changing.
So if we're talking to the Instagram trainers that are out there that say, well, you can't talk about fat. You can't measure. You can't, oh man, you're going to lose the clients if you do X, Y, and Z. And find Charlie Fashion doing the exact opposite of what the grain is telling you to go, right? And you have weighed them, you've taken pictures, you have done all the things that you're quote unquote is not fashionable, because you're afraid to lose the clients. And what's What's happened as a result? Have you lost any clients?
If anything, I've picked clients up, and the clients that maybe thought they were dead weight are texting me going, I just hit my goal on body weight, that I would normally not hear from over the weekend because it's clients that I don't see over the weekend. And I'm like, that's my mofo right there. He's finding his own savage.
I've seen a lot of these guys in here over the years. I've never seen them so motivated myself.
Well, I don't think I've been so motivated myself. Like you said, it's a chapter that has to be addressed, and I want to write it, and I want to address, where we're going with it. And we could go on, and we have so many parts to this.
Right.
But you show me a happy person, and I'll show you a person that's happy with themselves.
Right.
And then he spreads that love to everybody else, and it's usually from physical health.
Yeah.
I've trained a lot of people with a lot of money, a lot of success in a lot of different industries and sports. And that health thing, it's the goods, man.
Well, you've also seen a time in your life where people in their midlife, some thrive and some have fallen off. Some have passed, have died as a result of some of those lifestyle things. And I think that's been a big wake-up call to you. As far as, calling things out, looking at the clients in a hard, honest way and saying, hey, this is not really just to be a jerk. This is because you feel like this is something that you can affect and get people better, right?
Well, yes. And you brought up the best topic forever. And it's the body mass index, because that's probably one of the things that I don't address much with athletes. They could be 5'10", 220 with 10% body fat, and they play in the NFL. You're talking about the guys that are coming through here and going, this person needs to be this weight. There's no reason for this person to be this weight anymore.
Yeah.
Okay?
So when this height, 5 foot.
Let's say 5'8", and this guy's 205 pounds. Yeah. He needs to be 5'8", 175 pounds. And when I go, well, Dr. James Choo says, what? There's no way. I'm not built like him in this. Well, I'm like, he's not 175 pounds. Dr. James Choo is 147 pounds. And the strongest guy in the gym, pound for pound. Now, going back to that, where we've lost it, where sometimes I've gone through the motions with my business clientele, is not goal setting. And we have even revamped you with setting goals. And that's what I started doing again to this culture.
Let's get back to a means and measure that you did. That was a pull-up challenge, right? That was a pull-up challenge. Just basically said, tell the audience about that.
Well, the pull-up challenge is, because I want to come across, I want to not be the next Jack LaLanne, but be the guy that is like, let's not forget about some basic movements that could have some real measurables. And not only on site, it's not a number. It's a body going up or down. So it's not sitting around going, I just benched 200 pounds or it was a 205. What was it? It was this. It's either an A and B. It either goes up or it goes down. Yeah. And a real pull up or chin up. And, everybody was like, well, that's not what it is. And that's, everybody gather around. This is what I want. Overhand grip, wide grip, chin over bar, legs straight, no bouncing from the floor, legs locked the entire time and come down.
What did that reveal?
Not one of my clients could do one the right way. Now, they may have fudged and, look like frogs. If I shoved them in water, they would have frog gigged away,
Yeah.
Or I'm not talking about a CrossFit pull-up. I'm talking just, let's get back to a basic pull-up.
Right.
Well, now looking at a lot of programs out there for all these years I've been doing it, pull-ups aren't in the programs.
Yeah.
Know why?
Because they're hard.
They're hard.
Freaking hard. Hey, but you did have one client.
Oh, Pretty Boy Joe. Dr. Joe Thompson. Yeah.
Tell everybody about Joe Thompson.
Well, again, like Brian White said today, this podcast might not be for everybody because it's talking about people trying to get better, just this much better. But now you look at a Dr. Joe Thompson who is uber fit.
How old is he?
61 years old.
What was he doing with the pull-up challenge?
Weights between his dumbbells, the dumbbells between his feet, and I
At
think
61,
maybe 8 to 12, and they look
Crushed
beautiful. And I videotaped them.
Yeah.
And
So
I sent them to the group.
the point behind all of that, though, is that, you know, you get an athlete in here, someone 20 years younger than some of your clients, it's going to be, well, that's because they're 21 years younger or they're this type of athlete. But Joe, at 61, crushed it, right? And so that, to me, is more impressive to me than the Harrison Smith jumping 40 inches or whatever it may be,
100.
because that can shut it all down. That's what we're talking about. Is Joe a happy person?
He's one of the most less stress men over 50 that I have in here.
Yeah.
And he's physically for years we've called him the Harrison Smith of the old guys. But you know, the ratio you talked about, Doc, is the height and weight. Joe's 6'2", 184.
Yep. Right.
There you go.
Not 5'8", 174.
Or 5'8", 210 pounds.
Exactly.
You know, or so you either have to be uber strong.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did that test to myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I did 8 pull-ups.
Okay.
Strict videotape. Do I want to drop another 20 pounds? Yeah. But I would say with the years that I've been in the gym, I'm uber strong and could get away with some of doing that. But that's not what I want to be.
Right.
So that, to me, I don't think I'm uber fit. So that's when that challenge came with, you know, other people passing away that I know. Joe is your guy.
Right.
And, you know, but he gets made fun of because he doesn't have 2 more hobbies.
Yeah, right. Happy dude, though, and strong and fit.
And that's what that's on the note.
So basically, for everyone that was okay, you guys have talked about all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. How do you get started? So it's means and measures. You need to know where you are, number one, and then it's tracking and patterning your week, right? And it's, in particular, your thesis is that the weekends is what gets you. So you need to have an honest assessment of what you're putting into your body. That means booze. That means the foods that you're eating. And then tracking exactly what you're doing or not doing during the week. And more importantly, the weekends, because that's when people let themselves go even more.
And it really does sound militant. And for our new guest that's in the office, he's probably like, you know, this is, you know, I'm not going into the Marines. I'm not trying to be a Navy SEAL. Why? Where's my fun? Mm-hmm. We're not talking about that. But we are talking about on the weekend, if you're drinking till 12 or 12:30, that's not your normal weekday.
Yeah.
You know, you're in bed with kids. You know, remember, let's talk family life for everybody out there with family lives of how the balance is. Well, you just went off the template. Mm-hmm. How are you going to make that up?
Yeah.
Well, then Saturday starts.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got kids going to games or they're doing stuff. You know, are they taking time for themselves first before the day starts?
Right.
Most of the time, not. And then, well, you know, it's college football Saturday, fall in East Tennessee. So what does everybody do?
Yeah.
So listen, I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
But at 4:00, I went mountain biked yesterday.
Yeah.
There was nobody in the parking lot.
Right.
I'm not trying to go, I'm better, I'm great, I'm this. I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. You have to do this. Yeah. That's your attitude towards it all, right?
Yeah.
It's something you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you can't go home and have a couple drinks.
Uh-huh.
But it does mean that I was sleeping at 10:00.
Right. Right.
I wasn't staying up to 12 or 1. And then today you get your sleep and you start the day again. Now it's Sunday. You got NFL Sunday on. What is that? You know, it's the same thing. And then all of a sudden they come in away and we're back.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. You talk about the next challenge. I'm waiting for that Monday for my guys, my savages, my mofos to have 2-point drop over the weekend.
Yeah.
Or sustain it.
So you've identified that. You've spelled it out for them. They're more motivated than ever, and they're doing more, it seems like to me.
Yeah. I mean, one of my clients yesterday is going on vacay, And I gave him 4 or 5 workouts to do through the week and then repeat the cycle. And, you know, he's going to walk to the gym and walk back to the gym.
Okay.
Great. That's doing more.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to lose him for 2 weeks.
All right. Let's talk about this. Another point of observation, feedback, criticism, whatever you want to call it. But how in the world can you compare the average Joe to a Jimmy Haslam who has more money than all of us could ever dream of? You know, it's easy for him. We can't identify with a Jimmy.
Is it? I mean, is it easier for him?
You were hanging out with him not long ago. Things were. I'm sure he has a pretty packed schedule. So how would you directly answer that?
Okay, the packed schedule, like that's the thing is my CEOs, my business guys, my doctors, all the business guys that train are busy and they're go-getters and they get after it. They get after it, but they don't make the time for themselves to be better for everyone around them. And that's what I'm trying to do is prune the tree so it could be healthy and bear good fruit. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to do that for others, because it's biblical, I mean, gluttony is a selfish, like there's no reason to be like that. So Jimmy's deal is he goes 6 days a week.
He works out 6 days a week.
6 days a week. Okay. We all know he owns the Cleveland Browns, so we all know that up in the box. I've watched his habits. So if we got to talk about those, let's talk about those. And he was in here Friday, and I'm like, you know, I went to the game with him Sunday, and I was like, man, and it's not even hard. Like all the food's out there, all the booze is out there. Okay, I had lemonade, get my sugar fix, and I had tons of meats.
What about?
And potatoes. I'm sorry, Mr. Potato Man. It didn't make me fat.
So what? It's not like.
And he didn't eat anything in the box. Ice water, tea, unsweetened.
And was Jimmy's type of workouts predicated on dollars? So what was he doing?
At halftime, he said, "Hey, I'm going to do a walk after this. So what should it be?"
Pretty sure walking's free.
It's free. It's
yeah.
You could get out there and move.
Yeah.
And told him what to do.
Yeah.
Boom. He did it. And then he trained Friday, Saturday, and then Saturday afternoon, I get the report of what he did, the percent, the calories he burned, the time, the miles per hour. How is that so uber fit that nobody else could do that?
Yeah.
These two gentlemen sitting in this chair could go walk right now.
Right. So he found the time to go hit the pavement with his 2 feet to go walk. And it's not like he was on some $10,000 road bike. It wasn't like he was on some really expensive machine to pump out the, cardio or whatever it is. He put his 2 feet on the ground and walked after all of that. Right. So he has made the time, and that's, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that one of the things that you love about training and all that is that it is one of the great equalizers, right? For, anyone, right? Well, you've had people in here from all types of backgrounds, people that didn't have not a dime to their name, to a Jimmy. Mm-hmm. But you feel that this whole pursuit of the iron game and all that kind of stuff is very, very, it's any man or any woman's opportunity, right? It's the time they put in it to make themselves.
Yes. I know what you're getting at when we talked about that. The interview you did with me for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And as a kid in high school.
So there's no,
right.
Anyone can do this. Basically, right?
You put into it what you get out of it.
Right.
There's no judges,
right?
And the numbers don't lie. But then it's all up to you of how you feel is what you do with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So this spurred on some other thoughts on your pillars of wellness, right?
Well, yeah. Here's my pillars of wellness.
Because,
the four pillars of health.
Yeah. So, from your perspective, what it is that is the next thing to talk about for all of those that are out there, right?
Well, but it's so funny because the common denominator is exercise. Okay. So, right. What does everybody can't do? What can't anybody do right now? And it's the biggest thing going. What does everybody talk about? Number one topic, sleep. I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
Number one, that's a big pillar. Number one pillar.
Right. So I'll go through the four.
Okay.
My 4 pillars of health: sleep, movement, stress management, diet, and nutrition.
Okay. So what is, just to get pre-sketch, what do they look like? What does start out with sleep? What are your thoughts on that?
That's another thing I find. I mean, being in this business, I was just on the phone with Brian White again, and he goes, I don't sleep more than 3 hours before I have to get up, take care of the kids, the dog, the cat, something.
Yeah.
So sleep is killing everybody.
Right.
Sleep is keeping people fat. It's keeping them older looking. It's keeping them to make wrong choices throughout the day. Yeah. It's keeping them to make wrong choices at night. Mm-hmm. So they might want to get liquored up to go to bed.
Right. And there's a lot of science behind that we don't have to get into. But how much sleep do you think is needed for your average client in their 30s, 40s, 50s? May change here and there, but
6 to 8. I'd say 6 to 8. And then everybody's like, well, I don't have time to sleep. Well, make time. And I did that whole circle of what your day looks like. You got to start making time to sleep.
What are the influences that destroy your sleep that you see that's pretty common in your clients?
Influences as why they can't sleep?
Well, yeah, why they can't sleep and some of the things that they're maybe putting in their body that might screw up their sleep and things like that.
It's the other 3 pillars.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the wrong types of foods.
Right.
Anything that, inflames the gut, that doesn't keep you, it could go from sleep to another thing that I talk about, water. Lots of water will help everything, and most people do not drink enough water. I know that goes on nutrition, but if you're drinking water, my 2 things, if you go, Dr. James Choo goes, Charlie, what are 2 things you could tell these 2 gentlemen to do more of? Sleep and water. Sleep and water. And you tell me how you start feeling with those 2 things. Yeah. I'm not saying be lazy, 12, 14. He told me to sleep, I'm going to lay in bed all day.
Right.
But sleep and water are your first thing.
And then the alcohol before you sleep.
Well, yeah, the alcohol is, listen, I'm not, because then I get the criticism of like, hey, Petrone, I'm not Harrison Smith. I'm not Jimmy. I'm not this. You're telling me to go. I'm not telling everybody to cut this out, this out, this. That's the problem everybody makes.
Right.
Now, that's the yo-yo that I've seen
okay.
for tons. Because what Americans can do, they can lose it better than any other country in the world, but then they gain it back plus some.
I got you.
And so that's what happens is you get all the guys. I'm going to get more sleep. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to smoke. I'm going to eat 1,200 calories a day.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Yeah,
and they start feeling lethargic. They drop weight, but they drop muscle production, which is all the energy that you need for fuel. It's fire and the fire pit and logs and all that.
So
right?
your changes have to be gradual and sustainable.
Well, because we're preaching a lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're health and wellness, the pillars of health, not the pillars of dropping 50 pounds for a contest.
Yeah, I got you.
So
just try. So a good first step is just to get in bed earlier.
Get in bed earlier. So what are you going to do?
Without changing anything else, just get in bed earlier.
But if you get in bed earlier, what are you going to do less of? Anybody? Anybody?
I got you.
Drink.
Right.
Because if I got to get into bed at 9 and Petrone's giving me a 2-hour rule.
Yeah.
A 2-hour rule, my last alcohol beverage should be 2 hours before I go to bed.
And if any nerds out there that want to know more about sleep, there's a neuroscientist. His name is Dr. Matthew Walker from University of California, Berkeley, who wrote I think he's a New York Times bestseller that talks all about his research in sleep. I'm going to talk about high-level research on sleep. And having listened to some of his podcasts before in the past, he believes that we are in a sleep crisis, that we're sleeping less than ever before, that it's associated with more deaths on the road than drinking and driving and other drugs because of the lack of sleep, lack of attention, that it's highly associated with dementia and other factors of health and wellness. And it is associated with obesity because of the hormones that you produce when you don't sleep that increases your appetite and other things like that. So I won't get into it, but Dr. Matthew Walker talks a lot about sleep. He is like the sleep guru. I think he has a TED talk on it and the whole thing. So this is not just Charlie pulling this out of his Italian ass. This is something that is really some of the best kind of research that's out there from Matthew Walker. It talks all about this.
And, this is also Charlie, his Italian ass is working his ass off in the woods. Yeah. Every time I'm mountain biking or walking, I'm listening to the same podcast.
Okay.
And I'm not talking from yahoos, that are dropping F-bombs 4,000 times and having fun and ringing bells behind a joke. I'm talking about real doctors, and I'll put together my list for next week's conversation that talks about the production of an athlete, the production of Dr. James Choo. I mean, the surgeons that I train, what the production goes down. My day felt horrible. I could barely get through this one, or I nailed this because of lack of sleep. You don't do anything well in sleep deprivation.
Right. Next pillar.
It's the one we've been talking about, movement.
Mm-hmm. I think people have an idea about that one. So I think we don't have to labor that, beat on that dead horse. Next pillar.
Stress management.
Okay.
And you know a lot about that from the stuff that you do.
Right.
More than me. But the one thing I do, and which I've studied, because I go through about 5 to 7, maybe 10 shows a week of listening to all these different professionals to get all this together, because it's a real crisis. I mean, like how we started with this is, you could go anywhere. You could pull into any convenience store right now and look at everybody getting out of the car.
You talking about the crisis of mental health in particular? Is that what you're talking about?
Mental health and obesity of overweight.
Okay.
Okay. So with the stress management, the biggest thing that I have found is nobody takes time for themselves to sit alone anymore. Okay. So I'm talking about cutting off the phone and sitting on the couch, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, I do that. I sit on the couch in front of the TV." I'm like, I'm not even talking about TV. And I'm not even talking about exercise. I'm just talking about sitting there.
Quiet.
I did that this morning before anybody got here. I sat here for 30 minutes. You know how hard that is to do?
It's really hard.
I challenge everybody in this room to sit there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And the studies say turn your mind off, turn your mind on. Most people you never turn your mind off. That's what, clinical depression is their minds actually spin. So most of the time what I've studied is when people are depressed, it's because their minds never stop, not the other way around.
You've seen it in a lot of your clients too, here and there, over the years.
Yes.
Big pillar. And I think you're going to explore more of that in the future with a mental health professional. So I'll leave it to the mental health professional to talk more about that. At some point in time, you're getting somebody on, it sounds like.
Yeah, I am. And listening to everybody in the pros, and even you even confronted me 3 or 4 years ago about meditation, whatever form that is. And that could be 5 minutes to 30 minutes. And you said you're a big advocate of that.
Yeah, big advocate that I don't practice what I preach. But yes, meditation has been shown on there's a lot of science behind it. A lot of science behind the wellness and benefits of meditation practice. So there's lots of apps that are out there this day and age. And really, meditation is just like walking. It's free. You don't really need apps at all. You could just kind of get the basics of meditation through classes and whatnot. But it's hard because if you're sitting quietly by yourself, and I've done a little bit of it, it is not as easy as it sounds, but the benefits are clearly defined by science at this point in time, and there's really no dispute about it. So I'll be very interested in listening to your mental health guy that comes on here at some point in time, but we believed from our practice standpoint, so much in mindfulness meditation, which is a style of meditation in particular, and the science behind it, that we had invited some of the top researchers around the country to 2 conferences that we put on. These were groundbreaking scientists from Harvard to University of Pennsylvania to Wake Forest and on and on and on. And talked about, there was, at some of our conferences, millions of NIH dollars that were there to study mindfulness meditation and meditation practices on health, well-being, mental health, depression, anxiety, addiction, pain, you name it. And the scanners that would show, functional MRI scanners that show the areas of the brain that were improved and whatnot through neuroplastic changes, all that kind of stuff. There's no question that mindful practices are very, very helpful for a lot of people, and it's free. So, next pillar. Last pillar.
And then we'll wrap it up with this one. And we have so much to talk about. I love it. I'm absolutely so geeked on this. Diet nutrition.
Okay.
All right. That could cause brawls in here. That could really, like, there's people that go fisticuffs with me on blows, and these guys are half my size, ready to take me out with diet nutrition. And
okay.
I like them fired up, but a baked potato does not make you fat. Mm. And again, we're lining up another professional nutritionist to come in and talk about that. Okay.
You've dealt with fitness and nutrition for a long, long time. Sketch it out really quickly. What does it look like? What are your thoughts on the foods that people could eat that make some sense?
Well, yes. The first thing would be nutrient timing. So the first thing I would do is, what time are you eating your meals? There's tons of books, and I have them on shelves of talking about when to eat, how late to eat, the whole thing of wait 2 hours. And you talked about, you do the what is it? The cycle fasting, 12 on, 12 off, and don't even
intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's a thing. That's 12 hours, 12 hours. So the big thing is, wake up 2 hours, black coffee only. After the 2 hours, you get to eat. Same thing. Eat your last meal again, like alcohol. Wait 2 hours. Then you could
before you go to sleep.
Right.
Okay.
So so
is that something that you think is good?
I don't think it's I don't think it's bad. I think I've studied so much of, like, we have so many energy reserves, and we could pull from so much fat and mitochondria, and we could go in the glycemic index and all the things that are there to pull from. Mm-hmm. I get it. What I've been talking with some of my clients about is, like, let's get to the basics first before we have to dive into ketones and Krebs cycles and all the huge words that sound great of what we're trying to do to burn fat.
Because you had some doctors that were like, okay,
yeah, I'm allergic to this.
Let me give you some scientific knowledge drop of why the baked potato and this made me fat, that type of thing.
Right.
But you're saying, really, you don't have to geek out on the science.
You don't have to geek out on the science. And the number one thing I see why people put weight on, and I see it so much in here.
Uh-huh.
And I've done the study, and people don't even know I do the study. Snacking.
Okay.
Snacking between meals. Okay. So overseas, they don't do that.
Okay.
Okay. They're eating their 3 meals and going to bed. So we snack. So when you put anything in there, snacking, that's extra calories. Okay. So, the doctor that was shooting out, he gets fat on carrots, baked potatoes, and swells up like popcorn. Fair enough. How about not putting the heavy cream in your coffee and changing that first before we start talking scientifically of the Krebs, the ketones, the cortisol released in your blood to not burn fat, inhibit sugar busters. I get all that. Mm-hmm. But let's start here at the basics first.
Okay. So the low-hanging fruit of diet.
Low-hanging fruit of diet.
So to change, first thing, stop the snacking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, all the stuff in between.
Eat a great breakfast.
Okay.
And I mean a great breakfast.
What does that look like?
Well, what happens is, and I have a couple clients that are doing this now, is they're trying to drop the weight, and they're taking me pictures and showing me what they're eating.
Okay.
And I'm like, A 2-year-old eats more than that. So don't go the other way. So that's what I find with nutrition is somebody will go from consuming, let's say 7,000 calories a day to 15 to 1,800 calories a day. That's a no-no.
Okay.
It's not going to work.
Okay.
Because you're going to give into something, you're going to starve your body of something, and you're going to fall off within 2 days, 3 days, or you're not going to have any energy, you're going to be irritable. And guess what? You're not going to be good for what we're trying to talk about. For others in your family.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to be irritable, but hey, you're on this kick of 1,500. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything that the Lord gives us that we could get from the ground.
Okay, so basically, we talked about this before. Our guy is Laird Hamilton, right? Who is dialed in the life and the lifestyle that we all aspire to.
And everybody should listen to his.
Part of what he talks about as far as diet is concerned, he keeps it real simple, right? He's not talking about this particular carnivore versus this versus that. He says, like you said, if it grows from the ground, eat it. If it's running on 4 legs, hopefully not 2, that'd be weird, but 4 legs, you're eating it.
I actually studied one on that.
And then, right, so you're talking about whole foods, nothing produced, nothing that is made from a lab. Just eat that, right? The whole foods. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, something that can't stay on the shelf for a long period of time. And I think he says like 7 to 12 days, if you think about that, because everything else is filled with preservatives and could stay longer. So watch your packaged, anything packaged. So you can.
So would that be 2 easy things for people to think about? Stop the snacking. Whole foods.
And don't starve yourself.
And don't starve yourself in the mornings.
Right.
Right. So eat a good whole diet in the morning, whole foods, cut out the preservatives, all that kind of stuff. Cut out overproduced stuff.
And there's things on Google you could go pull, there's enough websites you could, a healthy, I'm not going to sit here and give breakfast, lunch, dinners of ounces and grams, but I am telling you that,
those are easy things to think about.
I'm not telling you the meats to eat. If you want to be a vegetarian, a vegan, go for it. Right. I'm just saying if you stop your snacking and watch those principles of drinking, drink more water and sleep more and pick your nutrition wisely. If you're going to get a cheese pizza, get it with veggies on it and not the sausage and pepperonis. Those are easy things. Like my main man that's drinking his coffee and putting, 10 cows of cream in his coffee is like, I'm swollen from popcorn.
Yeah. So have an honest look at what you're eating. Okay. So for basically what we're trying to do is sketch out. I think the first 2 talks were just to lay it out, what you're seeing, where the conclusions that you've made from all the years of training people and saying, here's the bloody truth about where people are. And now people are like, okay, what do I do now? And so you've sketched that out. You got to move more. And you got to measure yourself, be honest with what you're putting in your body, what you're doing out through the week. Here's some other items that you can think about, which are stop the snacking, drink more water, get to bed earlier, start with that and do more, right?
And, yes.
So if you can, that's the next needle to push for this next group.
Yeah.
So if you've heard all of the complaints about, hey, where we are, why don't you do these next things then, incorporate them, and then see how things are going? Because they've taken it to heart. They're doing more.
They're doing more.
And they're doing the means and measures right now, right? And they're actually looking at so.
And you just gave them a template because you're the doctor on the show, not me. But
do you see what I'm saying? I think we're just kind of paralleling these guys
and take time for yourself.
Yeah, right. And take time for yourself.
And I respect all the guys that come through here. They're grinders, man. They're working hard for their families. They're doing everything. Yeah. But they don't do enough for themselves or consistent enough for themselves. And that's the stress free. Even if you chill out before you go home. Okay. I mean, I have some clients that will just sit in the parking lot and chill out for 20, 30 minutes before they get home.
Get their mind right.
Get their mind right. They're ready.
A little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, man. I think we've done great today. Oh, man. I'm going to get lit up again, but I think I love it. And I love everyone out there that I'm, firing on because I want everybody to be healthy and everybody could do it. And there's no more excuses.
All right.
All right, Choo.
Love it.
Love it.
All right.